Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of For the Republic. I'm Lewis. That's KD. What's up, man?
How's it going, man?
Doing good? You've been on TikTok? You've been busy?
Yeah, very busy.
See anything interesting?
It's just a lot of gay dudes in there, that's all.
Gay dudes, and then some people, the gay dudes talking about Osama for some reason,
Yeah, a lot of gay dudes and some ugly fat bitches there too,
and some fat bitches talking about Osama bin Laden.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
and black dudes that I'm surprised can read. Ooh,
Ooh.
ooh, interesting.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's unexpected that they can read. So, like, what I'm mentioning is that there's this new letter, apparently, or not new. It's this new trend on TikTok. I think on Twitter, this person came out. This one person, this journalist, brought it up. I guess they rediscovered it for some reason. They were looking for Osama, and the only way I can assume in their mind that this journalist brought this out was either two things: either this is a person who's trying to make it seem that the people who are pro-Palestinian are on the same level as Osama bin Laden, which is evil, and then the other is I want to know what Osama thought of the Palestine. I want to show you what Osama thought of the Israelis, and to see that he was actually somehow they wanted this to look good. Somehow they wanted this to look good for the Palestinians to say, "Look at us. Even someone as evil as Osama got this right. We're not as bad as the Americans." Like, I guess that's the only two things I can see, and neither really make sense. He's like, why
Mhm.
would you? Why out of all people? It's like trying to justify your anti-Semitism to say, "Oh, but I'm not as bad as Hitler." It's like, yeah, but you're still bad. Like, you're still an
All right.
anti-Semite. That doesn't change anything. So it was trending on TikTok, and already we have, I mean, major reactions by literally like everybody. So everyone's reacting to it.
Yeah, in a weird way.
It reached millions online through TikTok and even Instagram and IG. And there's been people. There's a hashtag called hashtag um, Letter to America, which was written by Osama, or reportedly, allegedly written by Osama bin Laden, 2002, in response to not just not 9/11 and then the Afghan and Iraq War that happened subsequently. And essentially, this was a letter that was that was written what's now like 21 years ago. It seeked to answer two questions: why they did what they did, and what do they want from this, and why are we talking about this? Well, there's this war with Israel, if you haven't seen, with Hamas in Gaza, and a bunch of young Americans on TikTok, which is the biggest group that's on TikTok really, and young people around the world are saying, we sympathize with Osama bin Laden. Why? Because he was pro-Palestinian, of course, and anti-Israeli, anti-West,
Right.
anti-imperialist, anti-many things.
Yeah.
Um, and the people really found this because the Guardian, which is a British website, which leans very left, by the way, had this letter up. They've had this letter up for since it came out. I think since 2002 they had the letter up on the website. So these sites like New York Times, The Guardian, Independent, all these other big websites online, these newspaper websites, they keep a lot of their they don't really take down old articles, they keep them up. So you can go back to like The Guardian and look for example, you could have went back and checked this article 2 decades ago and said, okay, they have this article here from 2002. The New York Times does the same thing. I mean, you can find New York Times articles from 1935.
Mm.
Except this
Wow.
time they banned it. So now the Guardian removed the pri this the full transcript of the letter after this all of this hype came out of people just on TikTok for some reason all of a sudden making hashtags letter to America. And TikTok's response was to ban those videos and take them all down and say, hey, we are not going to let you talk about this more on TikTok. And that's an interesting move considering the fact that, TikTok is Chinese. I don't know if the Chinese are like, I never heard of the Chinese not liking the Taliban. I mean, I don't think they really give a shit about this. So I assume they're doing this so that the American side of TikTok, which they claim is in Chinese, but we all know it is, doesn't get into more trouble because it's going to be like, you guys are letting. I mean, obviously, no one. obviously no corporation, even as Chinese as they are and communist as they are, wants to be seen as the place where you can read terror, where you can promote the speech of a terrorist, a leader, and Islamic fundamentalism, etc. I mean, but then again, it's like, but I also have a issue with that because you can read Karl Marx and you can read Lenin and you can read Hitler's Mein Kampf. You should be able to read this because I think people should be able to see what this says and then make their own decisions. Because a lot, I don't, I see what the young people are doing. See, because they're so simple-minded. What I tell you is like, don't be simple-minded. Don't just focus on that little thing that's there. Focus on the big picture because the big picture is what matters. Young people are
Yeah,
just pointing to the lines that say pro-Palestinian and are saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. Even he agrees with us. It's like, well, no, there's reasons why, and all the reasons he says he's for that, you would hate because you all hate that. Andrew Tate would be in love with this man. He would love this because even though he's exactly what he would also, Osama would bomb him. But the Tates being as stupid as they pretend they aren't,
mm.
uh, they would also be bombed by Osama. So there's a picture of Osama, your uncle here, and then we're gonna start off with this here. Here's
Hey, uncle, how are you, Bin
so
Laden?
I read this letter. There's two letters,
Osama
by the
bin
way.
Laden.
There's two Osama bin letter. That's gonna be the title of this episode, Osama bin letter to America.
Right.
And so there were two letters. There was a letter that you can read easily online. That's the 2011 letter, that's reportedly by him.
Yeah,
And
it's
then there's
easily
this
written
letter.
so the liberals who can't read.
And then it's this letter in 2002. Both, by the way, allegedly. Now the story back then, and I went back to see people back then saying this letter was reportedly made not by him, but by the ideological leader of the Taliban at the time, who I think was like Salah Zawihi or something like that. His last name was like a Z.
Zala Sawihi.
Yeah, some shit like that. And they had a bunch of these leftist like people like leftist anti-Americans write this letter. And you're gonna just keep that in mind. And when we go through the because we're gonna go through this letter in this episode. This is an educational episode. We talk shit, but we also educate. I'm gonna
Hmm.
go through this and I'm gonna give you three of the themes that I saw. So three overall themes I got from this. Islamic fundamentalism, which was what the Taliban was. It's extremely Islamic. I mean, they quote the Quran explicitly. And then on the other side, I have to hear people like Andrew Tate and all these other dumb fucks say, "Oh, this the Quran isn't violent." It's like, well, he obviously found the words that make it explicitly violent. It's
Yeah.
anti-Western because there's this constant theme of us and then these countries, which he doesn't outline, but you kind of know who they are. And he's an Arab nationalist because there's also this question I have is, who is us? Also, who wrote this letter? I just suggest that. We don't really know it was him. People like to make it think it was him. It could have been him. But this letter, I mean, come on now. We'll see. I mean, this was not a dumb guy, but is there he was obviously they were his group was obviously trained by the CIA. They were created not artificially, but they were amplified by the US government in the 80s for a different purpose, and then they grew out of that to become this. I guess because in his view they were betrayed and they didn't get what they wanted.
Mm.
Uh, and they grew to despise the West, and that includes Russia. They did not like the Russians. I think we talked about the last episode. There was a huge issue. So three overall themes. We're gonna get into those. There's three. I see it's anti-Western. There's a huge. Completely. I think probably 70% of the theme is Islamic fundamentalism. That's the main driving force. Then there's this Arab nationalism and anti-Western. There's like a bunch of themes of anti-capitalist, postmodernism, etc.
Okay.
So this is literally how the thing starts. It starts off with lines from the Quran. It starts with like to Allah, dear Allah, with your grace, and then and then it goes off to the Americans, whatever, and then it starts off with this lines from the Quran, two lines. Permission to fight, assuming against disbelievers, is given to those believers who are fought against because they have been wronged, and surely Allah is able to give them, the believers, victory. That is the Quran, I guess 2239. There's another line from the Quran that they include that he writes in there. He wrote this. Those who believe fight in the cause of Allah, and those who disbelieve fight in the cause of Taghut. anything worshipped other than Allah, which is Satan, obviously, or any other religion, which they equate to Satan. So those who believe in the cause of Allah and those who disbelieve fight in the cause of the devil. So it's the believers versus the non-believers, essentially. Because when disbelief isn't just anything worshipped other than Allah, and you put e.g. he's not saying like Satan, but they're assuming the people who transcribe this are saying like Satan. That's bullshit.
The other original
No, these
believers
these
are
little quotations, these little these aren't no, these parentheses aren't. They're just like a little interpretation to help people, like again, because it's not explicit that it's against disbelievers.
okay.
These are lines from the Quran, so people they're just trying to help with their
Yeah,
translation. So you fight
yeah.
against the friends of Satan, he wrote, or if this is a line from the Quran. Ever feeble is indeed the plot of Satan. So Satan, but in other words, when you say disbelieve, it's not just Allah, but in their view, it's every other religion is demonic, right? Because you're not celebrating or believing in the one true religion, which is Islam. So he starts off with two lines from the Quran. I mean, this kind of just tells you what this is all about. I mean, if you're sitting here thinking, "Oh, he really had an intellectual breakdown of why he supports the Palestinian cause," seriously, he started off with two lines of Islam. Who, and by the way, the people outside chanting, who the liberals and the progressives, they hate religion. They don't like Islam. They just want to admit it. So then it starts off. Some American writers have published articles under the title "On What Basis Are We Fighting?" These articles have generated a number of responses, some of which adhere to the truth and were based on Islamic law, and others which have not. We wanted to outline the truth. I mean, as an explanation and warning, hoping for Allah's reward, seeking success and support from Him. So obviously, all of he's just said the truth of why they do what they do and who they are and why they do things and what they want. It's all hoping for the reward of Allah and seeking His support. So this is all in the name of God for them. Here's just more sections. So here they pretty much outline the they address the two questions and they give two answers. So one, why are we fighting and opposing you? That's what these are the two questions they feel that they're getting from the Americans that they're going to respond to. What are we calling you to? And what do we want from you? Ooh. So there are two answers here. Very
Ooh,
explicit. As for the first question, why are we fighting you? The answer is simple. One, because you attacked us and continue to attack us. And then A, they just go, you attacked us in Palestine.
God.
Okay, so everybody there's like, oh my God, yes. The Americans cause so many problems because it's so fashionable and so marketable to hate on America. It's the easiest thing you could do. It's easy.
It is the easiest thing you can do.
It
Because
is.
it's like if America never existed or any of the European nations and you blame every one of them for your guys' failure. If none of us are here, you guys really think that you guys are gonna prosper?
No, they'd be eating sand and fucking goats.
Like honestly, come on. It's really easy to attack on America now these days.
Oh, too simple. Too fashionable. So here's one. Here's when he starts they really start off, or I guess I'm gonna keep saying Osama bin Laden, keeps talking about he really delves into the Palestinian. Now, mind you, this is not done because he's honest and he wants to really give you an answer. This is always done with propaganda. This is all with propagandatory effect. He wants to use this letter to convince people that what he's doing is right, and then he says, "Hey, join us." At the end, Palestine, which has been sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years, the British handed over Palestine with your help and
Oh,
your
there you go.
support to the Jews, who have occupied it for more than 50 years. Years overflowing with oppression, tyranny, crimes, killing, expulsion, destruction, and devastation.
Bruh.
The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. And of course, there is no need to explain or prove the degree of American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime which must be right. So I want to know, because this is the main chunk where they talk about it when he talks about Palestine and Israel. This is really the main chunk of it. I want to know, when you guys were reading this letter on the TikToks, when you were reading this, and when he says the creation of Israel is a crime which must be erased, what did you think he meant? I mean, he wasn't talking about I'm gonna go protest outside Grand Central Station and take selfies and put it on Instagram. That's not what he was talking about. He's literally talking about the create. These are literally his words. The creation of Israel is a crime which must be
which
erased.
must be erased.
And then he goes into each and every person whose hands have been polluted in the contribution towards this crime must pay its price and pay for it heavily. I mean,
Okay.
what the fuck were they thinking when they were on the TikToks and saying, "Oh yeah, this." I feel so. I mean, I have been on Twitter today, and I was on Instagram, and I was on the places, and I have seen people say the stupidest things today. One of them was, "We were not told the truth about Osama."
Yeah, someone else said Osama was right all along.
Yeah, I saw that one too, and I've seen people say that Osama, that effectively that we have been brainwashed into believing what actually isn't true. That this man was fighting for human rights. I mean, this goes back to like when Trump killed the leader of ISIS and in the Wall Street Post called him like a religious leader.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how insane this has become. This is how stupid young people are. I talked to you about the 5 foot Marines. This is the other situation that we're confronted with. Stupid people that can't read. They read one line and they're like, "Oh my God, this the truth." They for some reason believe that there's this grand conspiracy to not educate young Americans, who, by the way, were never going to pay attention in school, regardless. So when they say we're not being taught the real history, you don't listen to any
Because
history class.
yeah, you guys aren't even about yeah, you guys aren't even taught regardless.
You guys weren't paying attention in any history class. Like, do you think kids in Plainfield High who are reading this now and thinking that they're right, that they're protesting for Palestine, because most of them are, if they give a shit or can spell or know what Palestine is, do you think that they were paying in class, in any class, teaching any history? No, they weren't. They were just being ghetto and smoking weed. Like that's what most urban youth in America do.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They weren't reading this. And so when they do this, why do they believe it? Because it's fashionable. Oh my God, it's so cool that you're shitting on America and the West. It's so easy. First of all, it's easy to do that. I can do that all day and better than y'all. It's like it's
That is
easy, it's
true.
fashionable to do this. Every celebrity you know doesn't like America, even though they profit off America. Every single rapper that is rich and shits on America makes money because of America. Cardi B is not becoming a billionaire in China. She's not becoming a millionaire in Nigeria. She's not becoming a millionaire in India or in, by the way, Palestine. She's not.
Or in
She'd be some
Africa.
broke bitch working at a strip club. That's what she would be. Like where she probably should be now in a sane society. The same thing goes for Ice Spice, for Sexy Red, all of them. Like this is the level of insanity we're living through. All right, let's move on to it brings us laughter and tears to see that you have not yet tired of repeating your fabricated lies that the Jews have a historical right to Palestine, as it was promised to them in the Torah. Anyone who disputes with them on this alleged fact is accused of anti-Semitism. Ah, this is the other one they like. This is one of the most whatever the word is, widely circulated fabrication,
Malicious.
facetious. No, I can't even spell the word now.
Fa la 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 la.
Yeah, whatever that is. Widely circulated fabrications in history. Fallacious.
Yeah.
This is one of the most fallacious, widely circulated fabrications in history. The people of Palestine are pure Arabs and original Semites. It is Muslims who are the inheritors of Moses. Peace be upon them. And then he gets into
Pure
this. He also gets into this
Arabs.
problem where that's why I mentioned Arab nationalism. He also gets into this problem, and I took notes on my own. He also gets into this problem of um, telling which is, by the way, it's easy. The easiest lies are the ones built upon half truths. That's why they're most believable because they're built upon a half truth,
Yeah.
right? He can say that the Palestinians were there, but he won't tell you why. So he gives all these like historical um, inaccuracies later. Um,
Yeah. Right.
that I see in
And you also mentioned pure Arabs, so I don't know about that.
yeah. So when the Muslims conquered Palestine and drove out the Romans, Palestine and Jerusalem returned to Islam. So my question is, returned to Islam. They weren't Muslim in the first place. They weren't Muslim. They weren't. The Palestinians that were there were not were Christians.
Hmm.
Do people not know when Islam was founded? Islam was founded in the seventh century. It was founded in the 600s. He does know that the Romans, that the Palestinians that were there were not that they weren't Muslim. The Palestinians were put there, by the way, not near that time. They were put there like hundreds of years before this.
Right.
But apparently, I guess the most intelligent man gets something right, gets something wrong, of course. And and that's the first thing. So then he says, therefore, the call to this kind of just shits completely. It's like, okay, so the historical right, because they were Muslim and they were no, they became, first of all, the Muslims that came from the Arab steppes, which were in the Middle East, which is in Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, that region of the Arab world. That's where Islam was founded in Mecca,
Hmm.
in the Saudi Arabia, in that area.
Right.
That's where it started. Muhammad, this illiterate traveling merchant, for some reason then learned the word of God through a goat. And
And little kids.
and yes, and banged and was married a 13-year-old when he was like, a senior citizen. That man, all of a sudden, that man in 1610 is like that for some reason the people that were Palestinian there were people that were Palestinians already like the Romans brought the Palestinians there. The Romans conquered. I'm looking at here. I want the exact date. Do you want to
Hmm.
know when the do you want to know when the Romans conquered Judea and replaced them with Palestinians?
Um, 15th century.
No, because Islam is the 7th century. The
So,
15th
so I
century
would
is
assume
is
Rome,
four is
Rome.
1400.
Oh yeah. Um, oh yeah, I was thinking of another year actually. Yeah.
So I'm saying like when the Roman Empire conquered Judea and called it Palestine. You know when that happened? I'm going to give you the date. It happened before Christ. The
Oh.
Palestinians were brought to the land of Judea in 63 BC when it was still the Roman Republic.
Hmm.
The Roman Republic invaded so Pompey. This was Pompey. Pompey captured Jerusalem, which was the capital of Judea, and brought the Palestinians to this land. That's how off the dates he is. I mean, he goes from six. So imagine Islam begins in 1610, in 610, not 1610, 610, 610, the year 610 after AD, after death of God, and
Hmm.
or death of Christ, and Palestine becomes a thing because of the Romans in 63 BC. That's how off he is.
Well, this right here is total misinformation. He should be banned. Well, the letter was banned.
I mean, he's dead, so
I mean, is he dead?
So he likes to say brought back, returned Jerusalem to Islam. I mean, it was never Islamic in the first place. It was whatever they believed in, and some were Christian. There were some Jewish people.
So it was a mix of everyone.
A lot of them were this. The Romans had this. Remember, they had that dual religion, and they're mostly heathens, hedonistic.
Oh, okay.
They were heathens, so it was a very tribal type of religion, of faith.
Hmm.
They believed in the sun gods and stuff like that.
Okay.
So then he goes to historical right. I mean, you have no historical basis. This was completely wrong. I mean, like this, everything he just said should be wrong. But because his kids don't know history, they'll believe it. They'll say, Osama, do you think Osama, a Muslim cleric, a fundamentalist, would know when Islam was made? Of course he would, because he's Muslim. It's like, no, he was also, what did I just say? Good lies are built upon half truths. Half of it is true. Palestine became the Muslims did conquer Palestine and drove out the Romans. But by the way, the Romans didn't exist. The Roman Empire died out before this.
Yeah, that was already dead. Yeah,
It wasn't real. It was gone. It was dead. It was the Holy Roman Empire by that time, or a very
attack
odd
when they're
form
weak.
of it. So this whole historical little distinction he likes to make is wrong. But remember, these people who were pro-Palestinian, a lot of them are not doing this based on historical fact. What do they do this based on? Many of them are Muslim, you know them, and automatically, for some reason, they won't tell us why, but automatically they use Islam and they use their Arab ethnicity as a reason they hate Israel, but they won't tell you why. They don't they? None of the like Muslim people that I know, they don't talk. They don't want to give you the real reason, and they know the real reason. They know why. They don't want to say they hate Jews and they hate Israel, and they hate Israelis because they're Jewish, but they won't tell you that. Then there's the next one. The blood pouring out of Palestine must be equally revenged. You must know that the Palestinians do not cry alone. Their women are not widowed alone. Their sons are not orphaned alone. So everyone on TikTok is using this line because they love it. It sounds so much. It's so poetic. It's so.
Oh,
It's so.
so Hamas is taking care of them. That's why.
It's so poetic. Oh my god. Oh my god. Osama, such a great writer. I mean, he probably didn't write this. There's a good chance he didn't write this.
He probably doesn't know how to write,
He probably,
read.
well, maybe he did, but not this much. And regardless, whoever did this got the facts wrong. But they love this line. So they just tell you that because there is oppression in Israel, in Palestine, due to the Israelis, they must be equally revenged. So there is this level of just this reciprocal terror that has to happen. So every attack has to be reciprocal. So if there's a bombing in Palestine because they think it's the Israelis, the Palestinians must bomb back, must attack back equally. Because again, they do not cry alone. The women are not widowed, so they're not widowed for no reason. They're not orphaned for no reason. Right? That's kind of the meaning you're trying to give this. Right here. And so he gives other reasons. So you attacked us in Somalia. Again, who is us in Somalia? You supported the Russian atrocities against us in Chechnya, the Indian oppression against us in Kashmir, the Jewish aggression against us in Lebanon. Under your supervision, consent, and orders, the governments of our countries, which act as your agents, attack us on daily basis. These governments prevent our people from establishing Islamic um, Sharia, using violence and lies to do so. Allah the Almighty legislated the permission and the option to take revenge. So what was the first thing for the first theme I gave?
The first team.
The first theme was what? Islamic fundamentalism. Everything here, everything, this us that we're seeing, we keep seeing this us. Who is the us that lives in Kashmir? You know a little bit about this because this has been a new thing and it's been ongoing. So
Yeah,
he knows it's been ongoing for a while now. But the people that live in Kashmir, most of them are what? Most of them are
Muslims.
Muslim. That's
Yeah,
the us. The Jews, the most of the people in Lebanon are Arab Muslims. Somalia, Muslims. Chechnya, Muslims.
yeah. I
Isn't it
forgot.
interesting?
Yeah, I forgot Chechnya has a lot of Muslim
And that whole area,
population.
remember, there's Dagestan, which is the Khabib people,
Yeah,
also Muslim, heavily Muslim. All those people are in his view, are this victimized group that because they are the victim, this is the postmodernism that these school kids that share with Osama. That he's trying to push on them, and that they have openly accepted and have been brainwashing and doing. That's the brainwashing is this that there are the brainwashing is that there are oppressors, that history is conducted, is written through the vision of the oppressors and the oppressed, the bullies and the victims. And when you are a victim, because you are a victim, because you are being negatively affected, you have a elevated level of moral righteousness. Thus, what you do is moral. What you do is right automatically. There is no, because you are a victim, and that those groups of people have the right, have the privilege, or ought to have the privilege to do things that the oppressor should not be allowed to do. So if if the Israelis, who are the oppressors in this, in their view, have people that are being kidnapped by Hamas, and they claim that they're not fans of Hamas, but if they see a poster of that person, they're going to take it down because they're victims automatically. They live in the United States, but they're still victims.
Yeah.
Victims of what's happening in Israel, in Palestine, which I don't know what they're victims of specifically. But that's their view. That's that postmodernism that we can. It's a kind of like a mixture of it. Back to the Islamic Party, right? All of this is Islam. And what does he tell you? What these governments prevent our people from establishing Islamic Sharia, using violence and lies to do so. Their aim is to create a unite. Their game, and they would say, was a caliphate. ISIS, what it was a caliphate. It was the Islamic Caliphate. Do you remember that name?
I've heard the
The
name many times.
caliphate, the caliphate in Islam is the entity that governs Islam. So they are like the supreme leaders. That's why in Afghanistan, just like in Iran, there's a supreme leader. The supreme leader is like their pope, is like the highest Islamic cleric in the caliphate. So the Iranians look to the Ayatollah, because the Ayatollah not only is the the political leader, but he is the religious spiritual leader,
Mm.
because it's a theocracy. What they want is a theocracy. Allah the Almighty legislated the permission and option to take revenge. So they're saying that everything they do is not only in accordance with Islamic law, which they get from directly from the Quran. And by the way, he pretty much, I left out the quotes because I didn't want to make this, another, I didn't want to just put the letter here. But a lot of this was, he backs up with quotations from the Quran. We saw it in the beginning. He starts off with quotations from the Quran, literally saying, "Hey, we are in a war with the non-believe the disbelievers. The disbelievers are literally everyone who's not Islamic, and we have the right to fight against them." And now it says, Allah the Almighty legislated the permission and the option to take revenge, and thus, if we are attacked, then we have the right to attack back whoever has destroyed our villages and towns. Then we have the right to destroy their villages and towns. Whoever has stolen or wealth, then we have the right to destroy their economy. And whoever has killed our civilian, we have the right to kill theirs. And they do this. Why do they say this? What do they base all of this on? You can answer it. Islam.
Nope.
They they base all of this, what they are doing, and what how they are applying and what they're doing, on Islam, on the Quran, on Allah, and they have the wording to back it up. Here's more, which people also liked, because they then got into the part where they can shit on America more about the wars, and again, it's very easy to criticize people on wars, but you have started the Muslims of Iraq, where children die every day. It is a wonder why there are more than 1.5 million Iraqi children have died as a result of your sanctions, and you did not show concern. Well, they did the sanctions not for the children. It's for they did this to get rid of Saddam Hussein, and you did not show concern. Yet when 3,000 of your people died, the entire world rises and has not yet sat down. He's talking about 9/11, but he's just
Yeah.
justified 9/11 because when you oppress Muslims, in particularly in Palestine, there's a reason. And this is, people are literally bringing this up. There are people on social media saying stupid shit like, he was just protecting his people. He was a true freedom fighter. He was fighting oppression. He was the resistance fighter. So shit like that. And I've seen it.
And so we deserve 9/11
Exactly. Bingo. That's it. And what did you hear from them on October 7th, after October 7th? What did you hear from them?
from who?
From the people, the pro-Palestinians, a lot of Muslims and a lot of Arabs after October 7th, the attacks from Hamas on Israel. You heard the exact same shit that Israel deserved this in some way or
Oh
some.
yeah, yeah. It was either that, but I've seen a lot of people who are quiet about it as well. Like they didn't say shit at all. But when shit hit the fan with them, that's when they all start rising.
Exactly. When the attacks happen, they don't condemn. But when Israel replies to the attacks because they've now declared war. And see, in a war, things change. There's no little group theory of, you know, yeah, we're gonna have this little war here, but you have to follow the rules and do if I attack, you have to attack this way, and I'm gonna attack you, and you have to reply to my attack. That doesn't work. It's a war.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't bomb Dresden and Hamburg because it was the correct thing to do under the academic books. No, we bombed Dresden because Dresden was a transportation hub, and we bombed Hamburg because they had manufacturing plants. But we did so also to show them, to show the Germans and weaken them, and to show them what they did was wrong. It was a sign of deterrence. It was a sign of you have done something wrong. We're going to show you why you should never do this again because they didn't
Hmm.
get it the first time.
Yeah.
That's why. That's what happens in wars. And so, yeah, it sucks, but that's what happens. You have supported the Jews in their idea that Jerusalem is your eternal capital and agreed to move your embassy there. Yeah, Bush was one of the people that also said he was going to move the capital to Jerusalem. Didn't. With your help and under your protection, the Israelis are planning to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque under the protection of your weapons. Sharon, which was then the Israeli prime minister, entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque to pollute it as he as a
Oh.
to pollute it as a preparation to capture and destroy it. These tragedies and calamities are only a few examples of your oppression and aggression against us as Muslims and Arabs. It is commanded by a religion and intellect, so they're intelligent, that the oppressed have a right to return the aggression. Do not await anything from us but jihad, resistance, and revenge. Is it in any way rational to expect that after America has attacked us for more than half a century, that we will leave her to live in security and peace?
What?
Well, that's just a leap. That was a big leap. Yeah. So what are they saying here?
Yeah. What are you saying here?
What they're saying here is that all of the things that are happening, all of the things that have happened,
It's all because of
it
America.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the Russians and the Chinese help eliminate. By the way, uh, um, Osama bin Laden was the son of a very wealthy Saudi businessman. He was well educated. When the Russians, so after World War II, no, after World War One, in Afghanistan, the British and the Allies, that then the United States not really involved in this at this point, but the British install a king, an Afghan king, who is ethnically Afghan. He installs a king. He's the king of the Afghans, and this king is there for, I think he leaves in like the 50s or 60s. All of a sudden, who do you think takes over that? Who do you think starts the revolution to get rid of the king, and who do you think starts getting in power after that? It's the Cold War. There's revolutions all over the world, getting rid of kings and democratically elected governments in the eastern part of the world. Who do you think helped? Who do you think installed the government or helped install a government after that?
Uh,
The
is this someone from another country or?
the communists, the Russian communists, the Soviets, and the Chinese help. help the socialist, the communist Muslims, because for some reason in this era, in the between the 40s to like this 80s, in the Middle East, the communists, the Muslims become communists at the same time. This weird marriage happens. This weird marriage happens throughout many other countries. One of them is Afghanistan.
Kind of works for them.
Well, they realize it didn't because
Uh-huh.
if you're a communist, you can't be religious.
Oh yeah,
You're
true. Oh yeah,
exactly.
right,
So it
right.
just it didn't make sense from the beginning,
Yep.
and it didn't work. And a young Osama bin Laden, wealthy and had the funds to do so, began a group called the Mujahideens. The Mujahideen were a guerrilla
Mujahideen.
force that in the 80s fought against the Soviets and kicked the Soviets. So the Soviets, we had Vietnam, right? And we were embarrassed. The Russians laugh it off and say, haha, look at them. They do wars and they lose. Everyone talks about the Americans in Vietnam, but nobody wants to talk about how the Soviets in Afghanistan got their asses kicked
Got their
by the
ass whooped.
Mujahideen. Yes, and it was an
Excuse me.
embarrassment. And it was one of the main reasons, one of the reasons that later led to the end of the Soviet Union. They were broke, they were demoralized, they had just lost in Afghanistan, waging a war they never expected to lose.
It's
And
crazy. It's crazy that they got a stronger army, yet they still lost.
I mean, we just did the same exact thing.
Well, true.
So now the Russians are laughing at us, saying, "Ha!" I mean, well, we were winning for most of it. They never won anything. So, but the Mujahideen won, kicked out, and they got rid of the socialist Islamic government, and then created what something a Islamic Republic. Um, all the way until 90 what until like well until they did this, and the Taliban led that government. The Taliban led a version of that, the more recent version of that government that sheltered Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, leader of the Taliban and Al Qaeda, and who planned the the attacks on September 11th. And that was one of the reasons we went there. That's why I sometimes say, the war in Afghanistan wasn't the wrong war. I think it was the right war because we went there to target the main person who did this. Now, obviously, the Saudi connections have to be investigated, obviously. But, just because he was Saudi doesn't mean that he was a Saudi, he was getting help from the Saudi princes in Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia. That doesn't mean
right.
anything. But it's not bad to investigate it if there are significant leads. Now, the Iraq War, obviously, big mistake. Should have never happened. But it
Hmm.
was going to happen regardless, whether Al Gore was there or not. It was going to happen regardless. That and many others, and many of the ones Obama did too. So all of that happens, and he blames the Americans. Now he isn't blaming the Russians, who also ruined Afghanistan and parts of the Middle East by interfering there. Notice that he hasn't mentioned them at all.
No, never.
No, of course not. Except for the part where he shitted on the Russians for attacking the Chechens, but not just that. So well, the first thing we are calling to you to is Islam. So what he wants is this is where he says what he wants. He wants you to be Islamic. That's what he
Yep.
wants because he is conducting global jihad. Because the only religion that is supreme is that of Allah, is the word of Allah. So Islam. So what his goal is Islamic jihad, total equality, and it is the religion of unity and agreement to obedience of total equality between. So this is the most religious. This is the most hilarious thing.
Totally.
Total
You know,
equality between all people without regarding their color, sex, or language. I mean,
that's
you
cap.
don't let women in parks.
They don't like gay people.
Well, see, he said sex. He means gender when he says sex. He means sex in the traditional way. Sex is gender, so man and women. He's not talking about, you know, he's not talking about sexual relations. This is sex as in terms of gender, because he's gonna get to that later. Trust me. We'll look at the bottom. What does he say at the bottom? You're gonna like this one. The second thing we call you to is to stop your oppression, lies, immorality, and debauchery that has spread among you.
Get the fuck out of here.
You're gonna love this part. We call you we call you to be a people of manners, principles, honor, and purity, to reject the immoral acts of fornication, homosexuality, intoxicants, gambling, and trading with interest. He goes for it. He's like, you know what? We got the liberals roped in already. We're gonna get some traditional, moral conservatives in this. We're gonna try to. We're gonna. We want everyone to join our cause. Because guess
But
what? We don't like
I like
gays either.
I like my sports bets.
Well, that's not good. He also doesn't like it. He also doesn't because the Quran is against lending. So lending with interest, they're also against that. So you can't have a mortgage.
Interesting.
We call you to all of this that you may be freed from what from that which you have become caught up in, that you may be freed from the deceptive lies that you are a great nation, that your leaders spread amongst you, to conceal from you the despicable state to which you have been. Bro, black people like twerking and they like weed and they like having sex and some of them are also gay. There's a bunch of black lesbians. You're not getting the black people. When they read this, they're gonna be like, "Oh nah." It
Hey,
is
wait, hold on.
saddening.
Do you really think like the people that are posting this shit on TikTok really read the whole letter?
No, of course not. But they're going to eventually read the whole letter because that's how stupid they are. And they're going to realize how dumb they are someday.
Dumbasses.
It is saddening to tell you that you are the worst civilization witnessed by the way, this line they love because they're like, oh my God, yes. Because you know, white people, they're going to be like, we are so horrible. We are the worst. Osama was right. We're
Yeah, yeah,
bad people.
they're the only ones that are doing that. It's really annoying.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, this man, the man who wrote this, looks up to a man who was a pedophile. He forced a 13-year-old girl to marry him and bear his children. Who all those children, by the way, many of them, then started bloody wars in the name of whoever thought that was like the best friend of Muhammad. That's why there was all these caliphates, by the way. Don't let them tell you any different. I went to college, just like these dumbasses. But I actually paid attention and read the stuff, not what the
Wow, you went
professors
to
say.
college. You're smart. Oh my God, I
Smart,
didn't know
I'm smarter
that.
than the dumb fucks posting this shit online on TikTok and putting sad music behind it and being like, "Oh my God, yes, the resistance." Because that's what they're saying. That's I'm smarter than those people. You are a nation who, rather than by ruling by the Sharia of Allah in its constitution and laws, chose to invent your own laws as you will and desire. So, pretty much here, he just remember when he said that there's going to be equality. He just shits on that and telling you that no, there's equality as long as it's allowed by the Sharia of Allah. Because democracy, which is choosing to make
Oh,
your
ruling by the
laws,
Sharia of law. Okay.
Sharia is Sharia choose. So you're not allowed to do that. You can't choose to invent your own laws as you will and desire. You can't do that. You have to live by the laws in Sharia, which are equal because Allah said so. Not because you think, no, Allah said so. So shut up.
Okay, okay, Sharia is with the H. Okay. All right, never mind.
Yeah. So you separate religion from your policies, contradicting the pure nature which affirms the absolute authority to the Lord and your Creator. You flee from the embarrassing question posed to you. How is it possible for Allah the Almighty to allow His creation, grant them power over all creatures and land, and grant them all? And I'm not reading that. The rest of, anyways, he goes into like this. He just goes into like there's no free will. You have to live by the laws of. You have to live in a obviously Islamic Sharia. That is a society governed by the Quran and the laws in the Quran. And he is saying that you guys need to do that. Stop being gay, stop getting drunk, smoking weed, stop having sex outside of marriage, and stop gambling and getting bank loans and credit cards. That's not good. That's haram. All of that is haram. You are a nation that permits usury. So usury just means lending with interest. That's pretty much what that means. Which has been forbidden by all the religions, yet you build your economy and investments on this. As a result of this, in all its different forms and guises, the Jews have taken control of your economy. So here you go to the anti-Semitism. There we go. Through which they have taken control of your media and now control all aspects of your life, making you their servants and achieving their aims at your expense. Precisely what Benjamin Franklin warned you against. I don't know about that. You are a nation that permits the production, trading, and usage of intoxicants, so drugs, weed, alcohol, cocaine.
Hmm.
You also permit drugs and forbid the trade of them, even though your nation wasn't Al Qaeda growing heroin, buddy. Al Qaeda made heroin
Didn't
in
Afghanistan?
Afghanistan,
Didn't yeah, yeah, exactly. Didn't Afghanistan like start growing weed as well?
buddy. I mean, people like what? Anyways, yeah, exactly. Like they were growing weed, they were doing cocaine. The Turks were, I mean, the Turks, the Turkish, who were also Islamic, I think were making heroin. So that's was just stupid. You are a nation that permits acts of immorality and you consider them to be pillars of personal freedom. You continue to sink down this abyss from level to level, and your incest has spread amongst you. I guess he's not, he's against the Alabama. In the face of whether neither of your sense of honor nor your laws object.
I bet they also screw around with the cousins too.
Well, obviously, and because of this, you have been described in history as a nation that spreads disease. So AIDS, obviously, they talk about AIDS because they're also homophobic. So the AIDS, and then he gets into this because he knows what he's doing, and I think, or maybe the people that wrote this knew they're doing. All of a sudden, this man who bombs and destroys literally wrote this line because he's clever and he knows that dumbasses are going to today. You have destroyed nature with your industrial waste and gases more than any other nation in history. Despite this, you refuse to sign the Kyoto Agreement so that you can secure the profit of your greedy companies. This man just told you that he's pro-environmental.
Interesting.
This man is now an environmentalist. The man who bombed, the man who bombed the Twin Towers, which caused emissions that could be seen from space, is a pro-environmentalist.
Man, the liberals will love saying this part right here.
They did. They loved it. They were like, "Oh my God, Osama, I love you. Not only are you the resistance, but you're like the vibe." They said that. They said the vibe. They're
The vibe.
totally vibing. We're vibing right now. The next part, that which you are singled out for in the history of mankind is that you have used your force to destroy mankind more than any other nation. So you kill people. That's also you kill more people,
Yeah, you
not
guys
to
kill your
defend
own
principles
people.
and values, but to hasten to secure your interests and profits. You who dropped the nuclear bomb on Japan. Okay, here's the other inconsistency, historical inaccuracy. You who dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan, even though Japan was ready to negotiate an end to the war.
What?
How how many acts of oppression, tyranny, and injustice have you carried out, O callers to freedom? So, what did I just say in the beginning? Well, how are lives built? How are good lives built? Upon half truths. The Japanese were ready to negotiate, but the terms which they wanted, this is how they negotiated. It was a two-pronged, it was a two options. It was accept the terms the Japanese want, or the Japanese will do are going to do or not going to surrender. The Americans had terms to surrender, to the Japanese surrender, which meant complete surrender. The Japanese had to completely surrender. The Japanese did not want to do that. And they were continuing the war. So the Japanese didn't go to the negotiating table and have a ceasefire. That didn't happen. The Japanese were fighting the war, and their leaders were attempting to negotiate an end to it because political support for the war was waning out and they were losing it badly. That's what happened. It wasn't, see, but what does he say? He doesn't say that part. He doesn't say that they were during the war, that they were ready to negotiate and we
I know
bombed
Japan
them.
was ready to
No, the
negotiate.
negotiations weren't working out and we dropped the bomb to end everything because they refused to accept our terms. See, you're winning a war. Why do I have to accept your terms? You're losing. That makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. If you're winning a war, why would you accept the terms of the person you're winning over? If they're only favorable to them. And that's what happened. Let us not forget one of your major characteristics, your duality in both manners and values, the hypocrisy. And so this is the where they shit on the West and the America, and people love this part because it's all hypocritical. They say, "Yeah, you guys are hypocrites." I love these vibes, Osama.
How long is this letter?
Oh, very long, but it's almost done. The freedom of democracy that you
Jeez.
call is for yourselves and only the white race only. So, obviously, look at this line. I mean, read this line and tell me who today would not love this. The freedom and democracy that you call to is for yourselves and for the white race only. Obviously, the Africans, the blacks, all they love this. Of course, they love this. As for the rest of the world, you impose upon them your monstrous, destructive policies and governments, which you call the American friends, yet you prevent them from establishing democracies. By the way, you don't want a democracy. You don't want a democracy. When the Islamic Party in Algeria wanted to practice democracy and they won the election, you unleashed your agents in the Algerian army onto them and attacked them with tanks and guns to imprison them and torture them. A new lesson from the American Book for Democracy. By the way, you guys don't want democracy because the Islamic Party does not want democracy because why? That isn't in the Quran. You can't make laws that you want to make up. You can't do that in Sharia. He just said that. Dude, you just wrote that 2 slides ago, 3 slides ago. Choose to invent your own laws as you will and desire. You can't do that. And now he wants to do that? All right. Then it goes to the nuclear weapons that apparently he allowed that Israel of course has nuclear weapons and he says that's not right. You don't want the Soviets to have nuclear weapons, but you let Israel have them? Yeah, because you want to bomb Israel. That's why. Every single Muslim country at the time wanted to get Israel off the face of the map. That's why they have them. Then they are allowed to keep and use. They never use them, by the way. Then they are allowed to keep and use them, such weapons, to defend their security. Well, no shade. Why would they have the weapons to dance with them? Anyone else who you suspect might be manufacturing or keeping these kinds of weapons, you call them criminals and take military action against them. I mean, why else were the Iranians? The Iranians have told you why they want to create a nuclear weapon to commit genocide. The Israelis do not have nuclear weapons to commit genocide. There is no genocide happening in Palestine today. The Israelis have nuclear weapons as a deterrent from all the enemies they have in the Middle East, particularly that hate them because they are Jewish and Israeli. That's why.
Yep.
End of fucking story. Here's the end of this. The end of it is soon. So we call you to thirdly to be honest with yourselves and realize that you guys are hypocrites. We advise you to stop supporting Israel and your support of the Indians in Kashmir, the Russians against the Chechens, and also to cease supporting the Manila government against Muslims in the southern Philippines. We also advise you to pack your luggage and get out of our lands. We desire for your goodness, guidance, and righteousness, so do not force us to send you back as cargo in coffins. I mean, how did that end up for you, Osama? Sixthly, we call upon you.
Do you guys have any cargoes?
Now, like, send us back in like coffins. Sixthly, we call upon you to end your support of the corrupt leaders in our countries. Do not interfere in our politics and method of education. Leave us alone or expect us in New York and Washington. And that's where people kind of get those lines. This is where the sympathies come from some
Is
people.
that a
Some
goddamn
people
threat?
so some people are like, yeah, we should have like these are easy things to say, right? He's using the critiques of America that people on the left at the time had is the Americans interfere everywhere. They intervene everywhere. They have military bases all over the world. They support India. The West supports the Indians in Kashmir. The Russians against the Chechens. I mean, no one supporting the Russians. No one really
I
cared
don't
about the
think,
Russians and the
yeah, I don't think
Chechens.
anyone care about that.
And then to see supporting the Manila government, that's old. Um, but these are things that the left in America, which was easily gullible to this, because they're emotionally led, not on facts, not on principles or manners. They are led by emotion. This is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. Um, this is the propaganda they use because this is all propaganda. And it's easy. It was things that they easily like to hear. So they like hearing when someone calls out the United States for being interventionists, or for having military bases, or for supporting Israel because that's not popular, or for supporting genocide, or for supporting the Russians, or etc. And they also like it when you call America a hypocritical country because it's fashionable. It is
Wow.
very fashionable.
I'm just surprised. Well, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
I'm
give me
surprised,
your
but
give me your complete thoughts.
it's crazy that the fact that yeah, 'cause I noticed the trend that a lot of liberals were going around saying that Osama's right. This letter is crazy, this and that, and I didn't even see the letter, nor did I even care about it. But then But then now I'm like reading all of this. It's insanely crazy that people actually believe it. But what you expect? They haven't read the whole thing, you know. Do you remember? I think I mentioned this before. Do you remember seeing a video of a guy who had a little petition of like uh free Palestine in America, and then they're like, yeah, hell yeah, like
All
I
right,
support
yeah.
Palestine, but then he was reading them
The
a
laws and Hamas,
yeah,
the
yeah,
Hamas
exactly,
Charter, exactly,
exactly,
yeah.
like you guys need to follow this law, you know. They don't support women's rights, they hate gays, um and so if you want to sign this and you support them, go ahead. They're like, oh no, I don't screw with that, no, hell no. That little part right there really caught them off guard because
They
they
don't
don't know their laws.
like they don't know, and they don't know anything about Hamas. They don't know anything about the truth of the history. They don't know the historical facts. They don't know. They don't really have a true grasp or understanding of the context and the nuance behind this whole thing. See, they think
Exactly.
it's easy. They think it's black versus white. They think it's black and white. They think it's A and B. They think one side is good because they're victims and the other side are bad because they're bullies. And but it's not easy like that. It's not simple.
They're also doing the
Not
same with Russia and Ukraine. Like one side is good, one side is bad. But it's
bingo.
not, yeah, it's not easy. Like you guys
But
need to
when
dig deeper into it.
exactly, because they don't have a response when the Canadians bring a Ukrainian who was actually a Nazi. They don't have a response for that.
Uh,
That shatters their whole worldview, and they can't formulate a proper response to that. All they can say is sorry, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a deep, rationale explanation as to why you support Ukraine. Now, I've been seeing one now. By the way, I've been seeing an explanation to why they're now admitting that they're using Ukraine as cannon fodder to achieve regime change in Russia. That's what they're doing. I've been seeing articles around there. I think if you look around, if you look into like Ukraine, Russia, I think you'll see a lot of articles now saying that, like goals in Ukraine war, like objective of Ukraine Russia war. You might see that people are starting to admit in these big publications this is just a proxy war to initiate regime change. And by the way, who said that first? Joe Biden said that. He said that.
oh, he did.
He did.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
He
he
did.
did.
He said the goal in Ukraine in this war is to establish regime change in Russia. He said that. We all knew it. He admitted it. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. I saw this trend happening actually yesterday and I was like, it can't be. And apparently this was happening over the weekend. So I think over the weekend this happened. This
Yeah, I
came
think kind of
about.
died down now.
Yeah, I think it's died down because all the media ops and pretty much everyone who's wanted to read it has read it. Not the letter, I mean the TikToks. Because the person who did this, by the way, was a journalist who took out all the spicy parts.
But they didn't mention like which specific journalist. Like they didn't mention the name
There
or
was a
anything.
journalist's name, I just don't have the name, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a name, but and so I went to the NPR. I wanted to see what the mainstream media was saying about this, so I went to NPR. Unfortunately, I because I hate myself, I decided to torture myself today, and I read NPR, and automatically they also just skipped over that. They kind of just went to the automatic themes. They said anti-Semitic, anti-gay, and anti-women, and I'm like, literally, really? That was your major takeaway? That was your major takeaway out of everything? That well, alrighty now. It's the NPR, so you can't really expect them to do any really actual deep dive analysis on this. Literally, one of them was like, "What did it say?" That was literally what one of them said. Like, I'm like, okay, well, this was a whole waste of time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why you did that.
Well, I wanted to see what they were saying.
I guess you were really bored.
I was bored and very curious, but also bored. Yeah. In other words, we have more to the. There's more to this fight in Israel and and Ukraine. It's your best friend. It's your best friend.
Candace Owens.
No, your best friend Ben Shapiro, the man the man who red pilled you. He put a red pill in your drink.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Yeah, he put the red pill in your drink while you weren't looking, and now you're a conservative. And
No, actually, I was looking.
well, you saw him and you winked at him while he put it in there, and he was like, I'm going to put the Red Bull in your drink, and you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I even licked my lips too.
Yeah, and he kind of he didn't understand. He's like, I don't understand why you're licking your lips. If you need to put hydrate, if you need to hydrate your lips, you have to use lip balm because it's actually impossible for your pussy to actually be that wet. That was that him. The lot this remember that that
Yeah, I
was
remember that.
hilarious. That was hilarious. That is like one of my favorite Ben moments. Just like I don't really give a shit about Ben Shapiro. Like I get it. Like I know you like him and everything, but I've never had any use for him.
And
So those videos
I kind of lost my touch with him after his moments with Trump and now
oh
this.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped. I kind of stopped watching him.
I saw
I haven't
him
watched him in a while.
he put a video out like he loves Javier Milei. And I'm like, if Javier Milei was an American, you would be shitting on him right now. Like,
Yeah,
what are you talking about, Ben? But he's been completely emotional ever since this happened. And I get it. He's very Jewish.
yeah.
I don't know if he's Israeli. I mean, he's very Jewish. I think his parents or his grandparents escaped the Holocaust or something. I think. I don't know.
I think that's what
But
we've been
he's very
saying.
Jewish. And so Candace Owens, who had a tweet, pretty much talk in response to the war that I guess put everybody up. But before that tweet that she posted, which we're going to show, um, her main concerns was I don't want American soldiers and American funds to be being funneled into this war in the way that they are being in Ukraine. And I think that's what most
Yeah.
people in America were saying, including me and including you.
Hmm.
We have nothing to do here outside of I think, just an observation, observatory role here. We're just going to supervise.
Yeah, we're getting sick and tired of the whole Ukraine and Russia funding. Why would we support this? You
Yeah,
know?
and we're kind of dumb. We have no appetite for wars. We have no appetite for and getting involved in anybody else's disputes. We've given
No,
Israel billions of dollars over the past
too much
decade.
money. I even had so it's like
Okay,
they need to start moving on their own.
exactly right. We're giving you all this money not for like this isn't a yearly subscription. This was like a fund for like when shit hits the fan, you're ready. This
Yeah.
isn't a subscription into we're gonna help you this year, and then at the end of the year we'll see if we're gonna resubscribe. Like no, this isn't OnlyFans. We don't want to get fucked. So Candace Owens says something along the lines of that, and then she said something like, "No government anywhere has a right to commit genocide ever." She said this on November 3rd. There is no justification for genocide. I do believe this. I can't believe this even needs to be said or is even considered the least bit controversial to the state. So I think my only disagreement here is that Israel in no has not attempted to commit a genocide in Israel in Palestine. It is not doing that. From day one, the IDF and Israeli government has targeted Hamas and Hamas soldiers in Gaza. Did Hamas drop leaflets on October 7th, 4 hours before they got in, saying, "Hey, we're only going to target Israeli soldiers, and if you're a civilian, please get into please lock your doors"? No, no, they can't see. I don't think they can see you, so you're gonna have to say no.
You
They
can see
can't.
me.
No, they can't. They didn't. They didn't do that, and they're not committing genocide. So I don't really understand the tweet, but I agree with it, but I don't understand it. So, but instead of Ben being the grown up that he says he is, the man who doesn't understand wet ass pussy and things like that, he felt that he had to he had to talk shit because what he did was, remember, there was a hidden video where he called her. What did he say to her? Do I have it here?
Um, he said something I don't remember what he said
Oh,
completely.
he said her coverage was disgusting, completely revolting, and highly disappointing, something like that.
Yeah,
He said that. Remember,
something
he
like
didn't
that.
say that for the cameras. I don't think he knew he was going to be on camera, but that would be stupid of him to think he wouldn't be on camera.
Yeah.
He was filmed saying this to a private group of people, and there was a woman in the video. I don't know if you saw that video. Can you pull up that video so we can play it real quick, and you can share that? There was a part of the video where there's a woman who's like completely shocked he would say this.
Let's see. What are
So Ben Shapiro criticizes um a Candace Owens video, and we'll play it. And I thought that that was completely uncalled for. I mean, the fact that and then well, back to my first point is that he should have known he was being recorded. Whenever you're at a small gathering like that, talking to a private group of people, always expect you're going to be recorded,
yeah, he
especially
needs
if
to
you're
be
there.
careful.
Exactly.
Unless
He
he
should have
doesn't give a
been.
damn.
I think at this point he doesn't, but he should have been professional enough to see. You know what it is though, is that if you have a disagreement with someone you work with, you should bring that disagreement to them, not air that out in private and expect nobody and expect because that's a fake, that's a bitch ass, that's a punk bitch ass move to do.
Yeah,
That's a punk bitch move right there. That Ben did is by talking shit about his coworker, supposedly well, who we thought would be a friend of his, behind closed doors, him not expecting it to get out. He openly and eagerly and viciously attacked her. I'm not gonna get into the thing that she's pregnant, that she's black, that she's a woman. I don't give a shit, and she wouldn't give a shit either. I'm getting into the fact that they're coworkers and supposedly friendly on friendly terms. You don't do that. If we have a disagreement, if you and I have a disagreement, we're going to disagree face to face or through text or whatever, privately. We're not going to air our dirty laundry out to our friends and say, "Oh my God, me and disagree. Me and Karen had this disagreement. Here it is, and he's disgusting for having this disagreement with me." We're not doing that because no, but this it's not a professional or friendly thing to do.
agree.
Exactly. You got the video?
I'm still looking for it.
Hmm. Yeah. So I thought that was disgusting. I thought that he has been, and I think that his emotional outburst and her response by proclaiming, because her response was this. She said,
She wasn't aggressive with it, no.
no, she wasn't. Pretty much, she first of all, she said something called "the blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they offer." So obviously the people that promote peace and stuff, they are blessed. They are favored by God. Ben Shapiro, the next day, on his period since October 7th. Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit. I mean, what?
Yeah,
Unhinged.
it's a
Unhinged.
dumb tweet right here.
Candace Owens replies and says, "You have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now. And we is by the way the Daily Wire people, we have all had to sit back and allow it and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion. But you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it." And I think what she's trying to say is that Ben lives in Florida. Daily Wire is in Nashville. Ben does not commute to Nashville every day to do his show. His show is done in
Nope.
Florida. Candace lives in Nashville. She works at the headquarters and she has day to day contact with everybody at the Daily Wire. And so I think she is saying something that nobody else thought of. People at Daily Wire are like, "Oh my God, Ben is being such a bitch about this. You can't have a nuanced opinion on this because Ben is going to come after you because he's being a pussy about this. And if you do, he's probably going to be bitching in some private room to a bunch of people about this."
Bro, I can't even look for the goddamn video. What the fuck is it?
You can't.
I know it's on Candace Owens' account, but I don't see it.
I'm going to try to send it to you right now. While I'm doing that, give me your thoughts on this whole feud. I knew you have some thoughts, so just you can give up looking for it. Try to find it.
It's really dangerous for and like we said, like we understand where Ben is coming from, you know. But it's also dangerous um siding with instead of like understanding both sides, you're giving up your own anger that quickly. And then it also causes a stir with around your peers as well. Um, he's pretty much letting himself go, and it's hurting him, and it's hurting a lot of people as well. Because we've never seen Ben like this before, never ever.
No,
So,
no. I mean, well, we've seen him unhinged when I mean, when the dude talks about wet ass pussy, that just means. He's
Well,
gone
not
insane.
well. I mean, nothing like that, obviously.
Oh yeah, he's gone insane. But um, yeah, I thought that that was completely uncalled for. I
He
think
didn't
the
handle
way
himself properly, which, like I said, I understand where he's coming from, but you gotta understand where you're at right now. You know, people look up to you, people watch your stuff, and it's like a turn off for a lot of people.
yeah, I have the audio here
I
of
can't look for it all. If
so I'm gonna
if,
play it here.
If Jamie was
Oh
here
my God,
from
that was loud.
if Jamie was here from Joe Rogan, he would find it real quick.
Yeah, I got it here. Just listening to this.
I can't hear anything.
Disgraceful.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear anything? Let's
It
see.
keeps cutting off.
Okay, I'm sharing it through the. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm also can't find. So yeah, so you gave your thoughts on it. Yeah, I can't find anything yet to let me see. Let me play it this way.
And also, calling for someone to quit is also inappropriate when you're. I mean, you two are just giving your own opinions, you know, your own views.
Exactly.
If you hate
She's yeah,
if you hate the fact that she's saying this and you're telling her to quit, doesn't make any sense. I think what goes on his mind is he wants people to understand and think how he thinks.
exactly. And accept what he
You
thinks.
know.
You have to side with Israel and him. So
Mhm.
yeah, and she's I don't think she's saying she's like
And that we would
she's
have
trying
and
to
that we
frame
have to
it
go to war
exactly.
um and save Israel. It's like not really.
No, maybe she just thinks that we shouldn't get involved at all. And like, look, maybe we have to cross a line and say, hey, I don't want to send money and troops to this place. I just don't feel like we should do that. Not
I
everyone in
mean,
America has an affinity for Israel. Not everybody in America is Jewish. Not all Jews are practicing Jews. And by the way, I think she probably saw the stat when most Jews in America vote for the Democratic Party overwhelmingly. Maybe they kind of deserve this in her view. They say not deserve this, but say, I mean, you kind of voted for this. You kind of voted for weakness. You kind of voted against your own ethnic group in Israel when you vote 92, like I think 92% of Jews vote for the Democrats.
uh,
But I think I have the audio. Let me know if you can listen to this clip.
Yes. And then the question is about handling someone. I think behavior during this is critical. Okay.
yeah, it just is not there.
Yeah, I can't. The cheering just kind of ruins the
Doesn't
video.
make any sense. Like why I can't even find the video at all. Like it was out there. Now it's not here.
Just look on Google. Look up Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Twitter.
Yeah, I did.
You can't find any videos through them. Let me see if I'll find something here for you. So I'll try to. I'll save us.
All I see is Candace and Tucker talking and Ben on the show talking. Oh well. I mean Ben was also criticizing Biden for um, his move with Ukraine and funding the war, and now it's like, okay, now we need to go to
Okay, I
Israel
found
and
it. I
fight
found
with
it
them. What the hell did you found out?
on Twitter.
I, well, look at you.
So here it is.
The post millennial.
Can you see the video?
Yep.
All right.
The question is about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt, I think it's
Wow.
yeah, and she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues
And then look at this lady. Or you see this lady?
Hmm.
She's just like her mouth is open. She's like, what?
has been ridiculous.
Keep an
It's
eye on
not faux
her. She's just
sophistication,
like
it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
she's just like what? So just like completely disgraceful. He just says completely disgraceful. So couldn't that have just been something she addresses to him? He addresses to her, I mean. Couldn't that just been something hey Candace, here's some things I think you should consider. Candace isn't a dumb girl. She's not this one of these people that's just gonna think something forever and not change her opinion. If you give her facts, she might reconsider.
Yeah.
But when she sees the way you're advocating this on such an emotional level that is as emotional as the people you despise on the pro-Palestinian side, I think to her and I think to a lot of people that turns everyone off
It does.
because
Yeah.
both sides look extremely emotional. They don't seem like they're following any logic. They're not letting the tension simmer.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen it with my Muslim friends too. Like the post that I'm seeing, it's all out of anger.
Exactly. There is no
All out of anger. Yeah, Ben is doing it, you know, pro Palestinians, or maybe some Jews are doing the same thing. Um, yeah, it's a
right.
huge turnoff from
Yeah.
both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely ridiculous. And I think that I'm going to sit here and ask you, like, what do you think are the long-term repercussions? Like, I don't think there are any. I don't think there are people that are turning off Ben Shapiro that previously didn't turn off Ben Shapiro because of this. Like, I don't think that's happening. I think Ben has his market. I think he has his place. I think people are listening to him. I think Candace, they're listening to her. But I think for the most part, I think think, I believe that people think Candace was the more reasonable person. She
I mean,
has her
she
principles.
handled it well.
She handled it very well. She handled it with class. Now, whether you disagree with her position is a different thing, but you can't say she was classless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is another instance where Ben Shapiro appears to be a very emotionally weak person. I guess, like, when it's personal, it's too personal. The same thing happened with Trump. He was very bitchy about the whole Trump thing back in 2016 and back in 2020.
Yeah, he still is.
And he still is today. I think, so I think people are kind of seeing that those things and saying, you know what? But again, are the people that don't like Shapiro watching him? Not really. Are they gonna not watch him because of this? No. Like, this is just another blip. Um, but again, just to show you how passionate people can get when it comes to subjects like this, Israel versus Hamas. But they like to turn it into Israel versus Palestine. Go figure. It's easy because people get emotional.
Yeah, that's
It's
true. I
very
mean,
easy.
you wouldn't expect to see me getting this emotional if India and Pakistan fight again for Kashmir.
No,
You
but
know,
your friends.
my point, what my job is to understand both sides of the aisle. Why are they fighting? Why is it happening? Me being angry and posting shit about the oppression that India is going through is not gonna help at all. Nobody's gonna give a shit at the end of the day.
All right, and we're at the end of the day on the no war side. See, we don't want war, but we don't want the Israelis to get fucked by Hamas more. See, because that's also war. So we're anti-war on both sides. The Palestinians are chanting genocidal chants. That's not right. That's
Exactly.
not right. Yeah, and that's all we're saying.
At the end of the day, I'm just pro-American. I'm just worrying about what's happening in America. That's all.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but your friends, the ones that are Pakistani, you know what
Living
they're
in
gonna
American
say.
soil with American clothes and food. Well, technically it's made in China, but
But and I mean, you're eating halal food, so it's barely even American.
it's not even American.
Nothing was American.
They don't even eat pork too, and they're here in America.
I don't even know if this background of mine is in America.
Mine's definitely American. Look at this one.
But those glasses were made in China. No, the Thug Life glasses on Trump.
Oh, at least I'm on my glasses.
Oh,
No,
maybe those
this
too. No way,
it's made in China. I'll take a picture and send it to you later.
bruh, bruh. Your PlayStations are made in China. That sweater that has PlayStation on it was made in China.
The new computer I bought is made in China.
Next thing you know, I was made in China.
I mean, we don't have a girlfriend that's made in China, so
Bruh.
It's my girlfriend's made in Philly,
Their girlfriend's made in Philly, which is brought to you by China.
China, very soon.
Sponsored by China.
Sponsored by the
Oh, man.
CCP.
Sponsored by the CCP. Peking approved.
Now, but I hope
Oh, man.
Ben um calms it down a little bit soon.
Yeah, but you know he won't. And that's why we're gonna end this episode here on that little end note of we know Ben Shapiro is gonna be an emotional biatch. So I guess as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was very educational. I hope everybody in the audio only listeners, sorry about that, a little bit of presentations. But that's just another incentive for you to, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe button. And if you wanted to subscribe to us again, undo and then go back. It counts double. Keep doing it until you get tired. But make sure you stay subscribed. Oh my god. And then as like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. We post some funny stuff, political stuff on Twitter. We comment, we give analysis on Twitter also. And tell your friends, man, if they want to listen to something anti-establishment, fresh, uncut. We give no fucks. Um, we are the guys. We're your boys, bro. We're the boys. Holler at us. Here we are for the Republic, bro. Always for the Republic. So, with that, we are going to say goodbye. And
Stay racist, y'all.
yeah, make sure to do that. Have fun.
Do it. Yep.
Yeah, have fun.